Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Blender Python scripting tutorial. So in this video we're going to look at how we can create an add-on for beginners. So this is going to be like a shader library, and you can see the example here. For anyone who's followed along in the previous tutorials, you should have a scripting blend file that you can go ahead and open. If you don't, you can just go up here to the scripting section here, and it will load up a scripting workspace for you. So either way, go ahead and load up your scripting layout. I'm just going to change a few things here. We don't need this, so I'm going to right click, join area. And I also want to enable the word wrap just up here. Let's just do one more thing. I'm going to split this window. And then just change this to the shader editor, and then press N just to close this. Since this is where we're working, we're going to be creating a bunch of shaders, so that in the 3D view, when we press N, we should bring up our add-on. So it's kind of like the object adder, but instead of adding an object, we just want to add material to the object. So if we select this object now, we can see it already has a default material, and if we scroll through here, we can see the material name. If we click this icon, we can see if there is any other materials, but there's only one material right now until we actually create more. So with that in mind, we need to create a panel for the 3D view, then also create some custom operators so we can create the nodes that we need. So let's just jump right into it since I've taken far too long. So let's go ahead and click new. And then we want to name this script. So I'm going to name this the shader library.py. So again, if you followed along in the previous tutorials, you'll know that we need to now add the BL info. And instead of typing this out, what we could actually do if we go to the templates, go to Python, and then the add-on add objects, if we click this, now we have this script. So what we can do, we can select all of this, so select from the BL info, all the way down to the brace, Control C, just to copy it. Anyway, so now we've copied this, we don't need this script anymore. I'm going to click this X and unlink it. Now I can just Control V just to paste this in. And now we could just go through and change all of this to fit our add-on. So the name of it is Shader Library. The author would be your name. Anyway, so now we have this, we can import BPY. And then go ahead and create our first panel. And again, you guys should know how to create a panel since we did it in the last tutorial. If you want to check out the videos, there'll be a playlist up here. And again, we don't even need to type it all out. We could go to templates, go to Python, and you just want to scroll down and find UI panel or UI panel simple. Either one of these will work. So I'm going to select from class all the way down to this layout equals self.layout. I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to click this icon and go back to our script. And then down here, I'm just going to paste this in. And then we just need to change a few things. So let's change this name. I'm going to call this the shader main panel. We don't need this little tooltip here. Get rid of that. Now for the label, that's going to be the name on the panel. So we're going to call this the shader library. And then the ID name, I'm going to call this shader underscore PT for panel type underscore main panel. Now the space type, do we want it in the compositor window or do we want it in the view 3D? If you want it in the compositor window, you can always change this to be node underscore editor. It's entirely up to you, but I'm going to have it down here. So this is going to be the view underscore 3D. And if you think there's a different area that we should put it in, let us know in the comments. It's always good to hear what you guys think and where you guys want to add your panels to. So now for the region type, I'm going to select this window and just delete it. And we want to type UI. And then down here, we don't want this to be context, we actually want this to be category. And then we select all of this and delete it. Then hit apostrophe twice. And then inside here, I'm just going to type the name of the panel that we want to add. So right now our panel is empty, so let's give it something. Let's give it some text. Let's first type row equals layout dot row, open bracket, close bracket. And then I'm going to type row dot label, then open close brackets. Inside here I'm going to type text equals space quotation quotation, and then inside here just type any text that you want. Something like that. So in the last video we then created a row dot operator, and then inside here we just type the name of whatever operation we wanted to do. But since there's no operation to create the materials that we want, for example if we want a diamond shader, which is what we're going to create in this example, obviously there's no operation for that, so we need to create that custom operator. So we can't really enter anything in here until we've created that operator. And before we do that, we just need to register and unregister this first panel. Go back to this icon here, change this back to the UI panel simple. And you can see we have this section already typed out for us, which is very handy. I'm going to select all of this, Control C to copy it. Now we're done with this script, I'm going to go ahead and unlink. Now we're back in our script, I'm going to go to a new line. Make sure we're at the beginning of the new line as well. Then if we Control V just to paste this in, and then in between these parentheses we need to type the name of our class. So we can go up here, select all of this and copy it, and then just paste it in between here. And before we do anything else, it'd be a good idea to save it. So I'm going to go up to text, go down to save as, then you just want to navigate to a folder where you want to save this to, then go ahead and save it. And there we go. So now if we run this script, we should have a new panel here in the 3D view. Just open this up a bit. And again, it's just a bit of text since we've not actually put an operator in here, so we need to go ahead and create that now. So since we're working in a small space, let's go ahead and clear up a few things. I'm going to get rid of this widget. Just click this button here. Let's also get rid of this text. I mean, we could get rid of everything if we click this button here, this overlay button. But I'm just going to get rid of stuff like the text info. So in between here, let's make some space. Then on the beginning of a new line, I'm going to type class, and then I'm going to call this shader underscore OT for operator type underscore diamond. Then I'm going to open bracket, close bracket, and then colon. We need to type bpy dot types dot operator. So we can see this is the panel type and this is the operator type, so it's a little bit different. Now let's hit enter. So again we can define the label name and also the ID name, so I'm going to select this just to save a little bit of time, or because I'm completely lazy. Paste it in here, and then we just need to change this. So this is going to refer to the text on the button, so you could type add diamond, or I'm just going to have diamond since it already says select a shader to be added. So, and then the ID name is the name that we'll use to call it. So when we press the button, it will call this custom operator. So I'm going to rename this. I'm going to delete the quotations as well. Type apostrophe apostrophe. In between these apostrophes, I'm going to type shader dot diamond underscore operator. So again, we could just copy and paste this into here right now, but I'm going to do that a little bit later on. So we'll come back to that. So now we have this, I'm going to hit enter again. Now we need to type def execute, open bracket, close bracket, colon. Then in between the brackets, I'm going to type self, comma, context. And then in here, anything we add now will be executed once the button is pressed. So it's probably a good idea if I start to add comments to this. If you press the hashtag key and then type any kind of text, it now becomes a comment. So I'm going to go ahead and comment everything, so hopefully it helps you guys understand what everything is or what it does. So now when this button is pressed, we want a material to be added. So if we go over here, we can see, so again, we can see there's only one material. So we want to create a new material. So the way we do that, first I'm going to create a reference. So material underscore diamond equals bpy.data.materials.new, then open bracket and close bracket. By the way, I know these are not brackets, these are parentheses. I don't know why I call it brackets. I should quickly explain, as was left in a comment by one of the viewers last time, so thank you for that. But these are braces, these are brackets, and these are parentheses. I think that's even spelled incorrectly, but you guys get the idea. So inside these parentheses, we need to now type the name. We type name equals quotation, quotation. In between here, we could just type diamond. So if I comment this, we are creating a new shader, and we are calling it diamond. Now the next thing we need to do, we need to make sure that we're using the nodes, otherwise we can't add nodes. So let's do that now. So again, we need to type material underscore diamond. So I'm going to copy this, be a bit lazy again, paste this in. So I'm going to press dot use underscore nodes equals true. Now you might be thinking, how do I know that? How do you find this out? You can find out by going over to where it is and just hover your mouse. So you can see I have the Python tooltips enabled. So it says Python material.use underscore nodes. Or if we actually turn it on and off, we can see down here, it tells us what it does. You can see active material.use underscore nodes equals true or false. So we just add this to whatever our reference is. So again, it's pretty simple to find out things. Just by doing that action, it will then tell you down here. But for the Python tooltips, I think you actually have to enable that. So if you go to edit, I think preferences, then if you go to interface, you might already have the normal tooltips. So for example, when you hover over something, it tells you what it does. But if you enable the Python tooltips, then you'll be able to see the Python code underneath it. Now the next thing we need to do, when a material is created and when use nodes is activated, you get these two nodes added to your material. In most cases we can use the principled BDSF, but for this example we don't actually need it. So we need to delete it. So I need to type material underscore diamond. So I'm going to select this again, Control C to copy it, Control V to paste. Now I'm going to type dot node underscore tree, which is referring to the node tree for our material, dot nodes, dot remove, and open and close parentheses. And then inside here, we just need to type pretty much all of this again. So I'm going to select material underscore diamond, dot node underscore tree, dot nodes. So select all of this, then Control C to copy, and then go inside here and just paste this in. And then this time, instead of typing dot remove, we actually want to type dot get, and then open and close parentheses again. And then inside here, we just want to type the name of this principled shader. So I'm going to press apostrophe twice. I'm going to type principled space BSDF. So it's quite a long line, as you can see. So let me just comment this. Now I find it a good idea when I'm working like this to maybe expand this a bit more. We don't need to see this right now. But yeah, when I'm working with nodes and I'm creating like a whole bunch of nodes, it's a good idea to follow along in this editor. So even though this doesn't make a difference, if I delete this now, it's not going to affect my script. But since I've just deleted it within code, it's nice to see it kind of give me a visual of what I've just done. So same thing when I add things, I'm going to add them in this window. You don't need to do that. This is a waste of your time. If you just want to write out the code, go ahead and do that. So I'm doing this for your benefit and kind of my benefit to see what's going on and kind of how I need to connect things together and where I need to place them. So one more thing I need to do is just get a reference of this. So again, let's create a reference. I'm going to call this material output. equals, and we can actually select this here. So if we go from material underscore diamond dot node underscore tree dot nodes dot get principled BDSF, and this close bracket here, I'm going to copy all of this and then paste it in here. And then all I need to do is just change this name from principled BDSF to material output, which is the name of this node. So now we have this, I can now say material underscore output dot location equals, and then inside these parentheses here, so I'm going to say 400, 0. Now just to explain, the left column here refers to the left and right, and the right column refers to up and down. So for example, right now imagine this is 0, 0. If we wanted it 400, that's going to move it over here 400. If it was minus 400, it would move it over this way. So hopefully that makes sense. And I'll make a graphic just to show you the directions and the values and things. So if you want to check that out, there'll be an image in the blog. So I'm just going to move this over here like this. So hopefully these comments will help you, hopefully not getting annoying. Anyway, so now we have that, we can start adding our nodes. And the first one I want is a glass node, but we're going to add a few of them. So I'm going to call this glass1 underscore node, then equals. Then instead of typing this out, I can go up here where it says material underscore diamond dot node underscore tree dot nodes. So I'm going to select all of this, paste it, and instead of it being dot remove or dot get, this time we're going to go dot add. Then open and close parentheses. Then inside here I'm going to press apostrophe twice, and then in between here I'm going to type the name of the node that I want to add. And again, to find that name is super easy. Shift A, go to shader, go to glass, and if we hover over here, the tooltip should tell us, it says bpy.ops.node.add underscore node, type equals, and there we go, there's the name, shader node BSDF glass, and we need to type it exactly that way. So what you could do, you could left click, and if you wanted to, you can right click just to cancel that. And then if we open this up, we can see the name is right here. So we just need to type it in exactly the same way. So now again, we could add this in here to give us a sort of representation of what's happening. So Shift A, shader, glass, drop this in here. So again, we want to change a few of these properties, and we can do this here. So I'm going to select glass1 underscore node, select this and copy it. Go to a new line and paste this in. So first I'm going to change the location, just like we did with the material output. So I want to move it over to the left a bit. So if I type dot location equals, and then inside the parentheses I'm going to type in a value, maybe minus 600, 0. So this should bring it all the way over here like this, because we've got quite a few nodes that we need to add. So we need to change the color and also the index of refraction. To do that, it's again very simple. So I'm going to copy this, go to a new line, paste this in. So now I want to change the color, and again, if we just click this, just change the color of this a little bit. Now if we go back down here, we can see what we need to type. We can see it's dot inputs 0 dot default value equals, and then it's got this tuple, so it's 4 numbers. So we'll go into that in a second, but if we go back, it says inputs 0. So on any node, the inputs are on this side. So we've got the color input, the roughness input, the IOR input, and the normal input. And then we've got the outputs. Now you'll notice input 0 is referring to this color, and that's because the way Python works, the first input is always going to be 0 rather than 1. So again, if we click this, just change the color a little bit, then we can see what we need to type out here. Glass1 underscore node dot inputs. We can use the brackets, and then between here we're just going to type 0. We can type dot default underscore value. space equals. Then if we add parentheses, and then in between here, I'm going to type 1 comma space 1 comma space 1 comma space 1. Now again, the way this works, this is a tuple, and if we open this back up, change this to RGB, we have 4 columns. We have the red, the green, the blue, and the alpha, and that's what these columns represent. So this is the red channel, the green, and the blue, and the alpha. So by changing these numbers, we can change the color. So I want this to be a red color, so this is going to be 1, 0, 0, and again the alpha can always be 1, that's fine. And now I want to change the index of refraction, and it's pretty much exactly the same way. So I'm going to select all of this, all the way up until the equals, copy it, paste it, and then for this value I want this to be 1.446. And we also need to change this number here. So again, if we count this as 0, this is 1, this one would be 2. So I need to change this to 2. So now we have this is our first node that we've added. We also need to add a few more of these glass nodes. So now I need to create 2 more glass nodes. So I can just copy and paste this. I'm going to select all of this here. Control C to copy. Control V to paste. And now I just need to change anything that says glass 1 to glass 2. Same thing here. Copy this and just paste it, and paste it. And then we also need to change the location. Let me just go back to this. I forgot to change this to red. If we Shift D and duplicate it, we only actually want to move it down. So on this second node here, we can keep -600. We want to keep it in the same column, but we just want to move it down. So I'm going to say maybe -150. And then the color, we actually want to change this one. So I want to change that back to 0. I want this one to be 1 and that one to be 0, because again I want this to be green. So we change this to 0, this to 1, we have 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Then the index of refraction, 1.450, which is actually the default. So I didn't really need to change this, I could have just deleted this. I don't mind making sure that that stays that value, that's fine. So now we have this one, we can just copy it again and paste it again. And again, change everything to 3. If you don't change any of these to 3, you will find you have some trouble later on when you run your script. So just make sure when you are copying and pasting everything that you are going through all the text and changing anything that needs to be changed. Again, if we Shift D and move this down, we need to change the location here so it's not exactly the same. And again, we can just add another -150 to this, so that would be -300. So that should give us the same spacing. Then the default value for the color, change this to 0 because I want this to be blue. Do the same for this as well, why not? So now this is what we should have in our script so far. It's pretty much nothing, but it's getting there. We need to add a couple of more nodes. For example, I'm going to Shift A, shader, add node. I also need another shader, add node about here somewhere. And then Shift A, shader, glass node. Shift A, shader, mix shader. So essentially I need to add these in now, which is going to be the exact same way that I did these 3. I'm just going to maybe move a few values. So I'm going to do that and then come back to you guys so you don't have to wait around seeing the exact same things done. But yeah, you're not missing anything. I'm just going to add these nodes now in here. So I've gone through now and added these nodes here, just as we did with the previous nodes. And you can see I added a couple of options here. I added this hide option. So we can see we have these nodes, and by minimizing it, it actually looks better, I think. We don't need to see the whole node, but that's entirely up to you. If you do want to hide them like this, you can just add, so just after your reference, you just put .hide equals true. Same thing with the select. I don't want it to be selected by default, so we could move it around. I want them deselected, so we just type your reference .select equals false. And now we have all our nodes, we can move on. So this is what we have in our material, so they're not connected. Now we need to create the connections between them. So we kind of need to connect this one to this one, this one to this one, and so on. Then if we type material underscore diamond dot node underscore tree dot links, so instead of dot nodes or dot materials, it's now dot links, and obviously we want to create a new one, so we press dot new. If we add the parentheses, then inside here we can just link the two nodes. So the first one I'm going to start with is class 1. So let's type class 1 underscore node, which is the reference all the way up here. So you could just copy this if you wanted to. Go down here and paste it in. Then if we type dot outputs, then we need to tell it which output, even though there's only one. So if we type open and close brackets, inside here I'm going to type 0. Then after this bracket I'm going to hit comma, space. Now all we need to do is type the name and the input of the add shader. So again, we can go up to find out what it's called. It's called add1 underscore node. So we can copy this, paste it in here, dot inputs, open and close brackets, and for this one we're just going to put it on the first slot, which is 0. And there we go, we've just created our first link between nodes. Now I'm going to create the next one, so I can just copy this, go to a new line and paste this in, and then I just want to change glass 1, change this to glass 2, output 0, that's fine. And then we want to connect this to the add1 underscore node dot inputs, and this is actually going to be input 1 because we want to connect it to this one here. And that's it, that's all we need to do. We just need to keep copying this and then changing the name of it, changing the values, and then connect them all up. So I'm going to do that pretty quickly, but you guys should get the idea by now. And then the last connection we need to do is from the mix to the output. So let's paste this in again and change this from glass 1 to mix 1, output 0, and then we can change this to material underscore output, and then the input is going to be 0 since we want to connect it to the surface. Now one more thing before we finish this operation, I want to make it so when we press the button that whatever object we have selected changes to that shader. So that's pretty simple to do. I'm just going to type bpy dot context dot object dot active underscore material space equals space material underscore diamond. And that's the last time we need to type material underscore diamond. Right, so now we have this. I'm going to enter one more line and then type return. Then I'm going to open brace, close brace, in between here, 2 apostrophes. In between the apostrophes, in capitals, I'm going to type finished. We've created our first operator, our first custom operator. We need to register and unregister this. So I'm going to select all of this, copy it, go all the way down. This is where we register and unregister things. So I'm going to hit enter a few times and paste that there for now. Then I'm going to copy this, paste it in, and then we just need to change the name of that. Then if we just switch this out, place this here, do the same for this one. Now the operator has been registered. We just need to create that button. So I'm going to go all the way back up. Then inside our panel, we see we started to create this operator. So just type row dot operator, then open bracket, apostrophe, apostrophe, close bracket. In between the apostrophes, we just need to paste in this name here, this ID name. So I'm going to copy this and then paste that in. Now if we go and run the script, we should see the button. I'm just going to delete this. Let me shift A and go to mesh. I'm going to go down to extras. And by the way, if you don't have this option here, just go to edit, preferences, then to add-ons, and type extra. So we have the add curve extra options and the add mesh. So I've just activated this one for now. So make sure you activate that. Now you can shift A, go to mesh, down to extras, and you have a whole bunch of extras. But the one we're going to use is diamonds, and then probably gem. That should look good. And then when we hit get an error message, Let me just go to the window. And by the way, this is another tip. If you do get an error message and it says check your console, go to window, toggle system console. So I'm just going to quickly see why this didn't work. Oh, okay. BPY underscore collection object has no attribute add. That's because if we check line, let's just check here, yeah. So we can see here where it says tree.nodes.add. It's not actually add at all. I lied. It's new. So my bad. It's actually new. Let me go through this and just change all these that says add to new. So we can see I did it on the other ones, but for the ones that I told you to do, I said add. So apologies for that. It's actually new. So now we have this. When we run script, we can see that everything works as it should. If we hit diamond, it creates the material. We don't actually see anything, so let me just go over here. Let's just change it to viewport shading. And you can see you get a kind of a diamondy kind of look. If we go to rendered, it looks terrible since we've not actually done anything to the background. So let me just do that real quick, just so we can see how it looks. There we go, it looks a bit better now. So we can see it's a diamond shader. So now I'm going to go through this and add some more shaders. So the way I would do that is go to the bottom, select probably all of this, up to the top here, copy it, and then just paste it in, and then just paste it in on a new line, and then go through and change everything that needs to be changed to create a whole new shader. So I went ahead and added a few more shaders, a couple of panels, and just tidied it up a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got. And again, make sure you save it, go to text and make sure you save it. Then I'm going to close this window. And let's change this to rendered. Then if we press N, change this to the shader library. First I'm going to select the object. Then if we hit gold, we can change this to gold, change this one to silver, this one's copper. I'm just going to select these three, Shift D and move these up. Then if we change this to the material tab, we can see we've got the gold material, we can see the preview, but these two are sharing the same material, so I'm going to hit gold again, just to create a new copy of the gold material. We can see it's got a whole new name. Then if I go down to where it says roughness, I'm just going to change this to somewhere like that. And we can see we can have a shiny gold or a more rough kind of looking gold. Then we have the diamond, so select the diamond, give this a new material. We could always add a bit of a tint to this colour, so if we go down here, this second shader, open this up. By changing this colour, we could add a tint to this diamond, so I'm just going to Shift D, duplicate this and move this up. Give this a new diamond material, and then again go to this second shader here, change this colour to a bit of a red colour. We have a whole bunch of diamond colours. The next one is the ghost material, which I kind of like, so that's pretty cool. And then finally we have the hologram, and again when we click this we have this holographic effect. And again you can play around with all these settings and get something that looks even better. So I'm going to just select this, Shift D, and then this one, we can change this colour. So there we go, that's the shader library add-on. Again, it's not really meant to be a serious add-on, but if you guys like it and you want to use it, be sure to head over to the blog, there'll be a link and you can go ahead and download it. And yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of other shader library type add-ons out there that do a better job. But hopefully this tutorial sort of give you an idea of how you can approach it, and hopefully it inspires you to go ahead and create your own add-on. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're enjoying this series. If you are enjoying these videos, be sure to hit that like button. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.